Well, we are joined this afternoon by Rhode Island's Education Commissioner, Angelica Infante-Green. She joins us Tuesdays here on 12 News Now at 4. Commissioner, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So last week when we spoke, you said that there had been no evidence of in-school transmission of the coronavirus. Is that still the case today?
Yes, it is. It actually is. And if we saw the numbers to date, we have almost equal numbers of people doing distance learning, meaning they're not in the building, compared to the people in the building. Actually, the distance learning is higher than in person.
Is the state testing their direct contacts, or is the state just sort of monitoring those people to see if they do develop symptoms?
It depends on the circumstance. The Department of Health makes that call. So it depends on how close people have been, whether they have spent significant amount of time, whether they just need to be quarantined or be tested. Everyone can get tested, but they make that determination as they move forward.
We are now 2 weeks away from October 13th, the date that the state has said they expected everyone to return to full in-person learning. But is it realistic to think that things will look very much different in 2 weeks from today?
I think most districts are already there. I was in Charahoe yesterday, and they said they're already there. They have already come back completely. So districts are in different places. So some places wanted to go a little slower and figure out the procedures, but everybody will be back on the 13th. So it'll look a little different. There'll be more kids, and procedures would hopefully have been in place now so that everybody knows what to do.
Is there a way to enforce that, Commissioner, to make sure that districts that maybe are saying they don't want to bring all the kids back by October 13th, is there a way to force their hand, and if so, would the state do that?
Well, right now, I don't know of one district that has not committed to coming back by the 13th. That has not been the case. I still don't know of one, other than the districts that have not opened up the way that they were advised to do. So
like Warwick, for example?
Correct.
And so the state...
My understanding is that they're working towards opening.
What about Providence and Central Falls? We were looking at the data earlier, and they're still at or above that threshold, the 100 positive cases per 100,000 people. Are they going to have to stay in some sort of a hybrid situation, or will they be given the green light despite that to fully reopen?
No, I think right now they're still impartial. And that will mean that they will be bringing some of the kids back, not all of them. And it'll be a different type of approach for the two districts. They are already almost all full in their partial settings, both districts.
It looks like from the data that Narragansett also now falls at or above that threshold, probably because of the URI cases. I was looking at their calendar just a little bit earlier. It looks like they returned to full in-person learning this week. Is there going to be any suggestion that because of where their positive cases are right now that they dial that back?
Well, I think what we're looking at is what are the cases, right? Many of the cases, as we all know, have been in higher education. One of the things that we have taken a pause on student teachers coming into our K-12 system at this moment until we have a better handle. They can do student teaching virtually, but right now we've hit the pause button because that's where the cases are. And that's why you see the numbers higher in Narragansett. So those are not really directly related. So we're still moving ahead in the same way. We parsed out those other numbers.
We've been hearing about some situations in some districts where families are choosing to have their children do distance learning one day and then go into school the next day. Are you hearing about families sort of taking advantage of both possibilities? And, what is RIDE's message to those families if you have heard about this issue?
Well, we have not heard. We've heard of parents that wanted to do distance that want to go back in person because they're saying that they feel a lot more comfortable, and vice versa, right? But I don't think about coming in one day or the other. Parents, I think we have to provide stability, one, for the students, and two, for the school system, because I think that when you're at distance and then you want to come back in person, it throws off the class configurations. Most districts set a timeline for decision making, and I don't know anyone who has said that kids could come back prior to the end of this semester, because we have to maintain stability. So you can come back the following semester. Obviously, if there are cases where your child is really not benefiting from one scenario or the other, there will be exceptions, but we really ask parents to maintain some format for their child to learn, for their students, as well as for the safety of the kids in person.
On the topic of teacher evaluations and standardized testing, would you consider postponing either or both of those things due to the current climate that we're in?
Well, the teacher evaluation, we've been looking at what makes sense and who qualifies, so we're having those conversations internally. In terms of the assessment, I don't have that power. That's the federal government who decides whether we take the state tests. That's a federal mandate. As you know, this year we were allowed not to take it, but we heard that Secretary DeVos said very clearly a couple of weeks ago that they will not be allowing anyone to opt out this coming year. So unless that changes, we're expected to take the state assessment.
If there was a scenario where you could advocate for them being delayed or postponed, is that something that you would be in favor of?
Well, I think time will only tell where we are. What we are doing is having local assessments so that we can see where kids are, because everybody's saying we don't know what the gap is going to be like, whether kids benefited or not. So we need to have a localized assessment so that we know if we have to provide more math instruction, more reading, whatever it is, for the kids, for ourselves to continue to move forward. As you know, Rhode Island still needs to do a lot of work in general with education. So this is extremely important for us.
How would it work for distance learners? Would they be able to take the standardized test remotely?
We're figuring that out. We're working with psychometricians to see how valid that would be and what kind of factors you'd have to put in there. So we're working that out because this is the first time that we or any other state would have done something like this.
Just recently, URI announced it would be canceling spring break. Any chance that the K through 12 school calendar will change in the coming months or weeks?
We hope not, but the reason that we put ourselves on one calendar is if we have to change things, that we would change it together as a state, and that we could benefit from everyone being on the same calendar. We use buses across the state. So all of that, we're all very interdependent on one another. So this is really important. Right now, we don't see that happening, but it may. You know, we are letting the numbers drive our decisions as we move forward.
What would be a potential change?
Well, you know, everybody keeps talking about flu season, talking about, you know, we don't know. We don't know what may happen. It might be, you know, we have right now the ventilation being coming from outside, that maybe we're not ready for the winter ventilation. I don't know what that may be, but we are putting health and safety first in order to provide the instruction that we are committed to doing.
So is it possible that any breaks would be canceled or rearranged?
I don't see it at this point. I right now it's too soon to predict. I don't know. I will know more next month.
Commissioner, is there anything else that you'd like to let parents, families, teachers know as we talk this afternoon?
Yes, I think the community at large. So this has been really hard for school districts. We have a grant out for districts that need some money for substitute teachers. That has been difficult for everyone nationwide. So we have that available, and there's an application on our website. Also, we are having parent forums. We're having one tonight at 6 o'clock in English with parents and the Department of Health, kind of answering anyone's questions. Tomorrow there will be one in Spanish. So we are continuing to engage the community and moving forward and making progress. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're in a good place as a state.
And those forums will be on Facebook? People can watch them?
Yes, on Facebook.
Okay, fantastic. Rhode Island's Commissioner of Education, Angelica Infante-Green, joins us here on Tuesdays. Commissioner, thanks for being with us.
No, thank you.